This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Now we're going to take a little trip today to Paws Mahal. Not Taj Mahal, but Paws Mahal. That's the name of this wonderful facility in Arkansas, where they do so many great things for our pets, specifically our dogs, with training. And they also offer doggy daycare and boarding. What does that look like? How can we keep that focus on keeping our dog physically and mentally balanced with some kind of structure when you're busy? Or maybe you're going away. How do you prepare for that? We're going to center on that today. This is the stuff that a lot of people don't normally talk about. It's not something you can even find Googling online. She is the expert. She's the owner and senior dog behavior consultant and trainer at Paws Mahal. She is Carol Culpepper, and she's back with us. How are you doing today, Carol?
I'm doing very well. Thanks, Steve. And you've told me you are, so I'm glad to know that.
Yeah, doing great. And it's so wonderful to see you outside here on the video screen, just enjoying what feels like spring weather in the winter in Arkansas. Like I'm living through you right now vicariously.
Well, I'm happy that it's wonderful. Oh, it's wonderful.
When you get that kind of weather where it's tolerable to be outside, you don't feel that chill. Is that a moment where you bring some of the dogs outside and you have fun with them?
Yeah, I'm sitting, you can't see them, but my dogs are out with me right now. And that's where I like to be, is outside with my dogs. They're relaxed, laying, sunbathing. And it's my happy spot.
Before we get into the topic of doggy daycare and boarding, there's something to be said about being outside where, as humans, we are grounded. It's good for us. There's a reason why people say, I want to get back into nature, because we're connecting with where we came from. We are nature. So we're spending time with our dogs outside. It's the perfect blend, the perfect benefit for both of us. Sometimes we just see it as a chore, like, I got to take him for a walk. He'll be done in a minute, and then I'll bring him back inside again. But there's such a benefit. I get up early. I take my dog for a walk. The sun's not even up. It's dark out, and I'll be walking around. It's just so peaceful and so calm, and I enjoy it. I enjoy getting outside even when it's cold out.
I can relate totally. I do the exact same things. You're so right. They're common threads. We have common threads there.
Yeah. So let's talk about what are the expectations when somebody has their dog in daycare and then also boarding. What do you want to share with us? And also some of the things that we should be mindful of to get them ready for that.
Okay, that is a very, very good question. And the answer is very variable. The variables are both the facilities and the owners. So the owners have their expectations and the facilities will have standards. Some facilities require that the dogs are very socially practiced, and they tend to allow a great number of dogs together, and so they can't allow not a balanced socially dog to enter the group. That wreaks havoc. And then some, like ours, it's pretty rare because we're a training facility. Every dog that comes to Paws Mahal, whether it be for daycare or for boarding, our goal is that they learn to calm a little better. Most dogs are not calm as pets, and really dogs know how to get excited and amped up, but they have to learn how to calm down. And that takes some investment and time, some work, some patience, and it takes a calm handler to teach the dogs. So does that answer? It depends on the facility, and some standards are standard. We'll take any dog at all, but that doesn't guarantee it that the dog can go into a group, social group. Our goal is always to help them go that way and maybe one day learn, but you can't rush that. And depending on the dog's age, their early life, it depends on so many factors. You have to go moment by moment with dogs, and you have to come to learn them before you start making decisions of mixing them with other dogs.
Is a lot of this about structure?
Absolutely. Good question. And it definitely is. They thrive on structure, and there's many homes that don't have that. Hence, one of the main reasons for a hyperactive dog. That hyperactivity tends to be a little bit of stress because
Well,
they don't know what to expect next. Whereas a structured environment, a schedule, that's dependable, and they can calm down and settle into it, and they know what to expect.
see, I've never heard that, and I just take it for granted that my dog he's very structured. Like 6:15 every day, without fail, he's in my face. He wants to go out. And sometimes I'm like, just lay down, let me wake up. I'll get to you. When I say these words, let's go. He jumps. He's flying off. He's ready to go. He's like, all right, yeah, I got to go. And even in the evening, it could be like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever. When I'm walking upstairs to the bedroom and it's time, to decompress, maybe a little TV, relax, read music, whatever, he knows. He jumps off the couch and he runs up there. It's like clockwork. It's almost amazing. And it's almost, they have like an internal clock where they know what's going on there. But, I assume other dogs do that. I'm not really sure, but I'm hearing it from you that's how they operate.
Yes, sir, you have done an excellent job. You've got the ticket. You've done a really good job. You've provided what your dog needs. You've got that verbal cue. Let's go. He knows exactly what that means. Yeah, and it comes so much. Training per se is not actually training. It's just providing the needs, and it prevents difficulties.
Mm.
So, and I want to say, some people like their dog hyper, and really, when it all comes down to it, each of us, it's our dog. And so we call the shots. And if they want a hyper dog, they don't need to have structure. And really it boils down to kind of a little bit of backtrack to the mindset. It depends on what we want. The human. And then if they want different, that they need to learn to accept, they'll have to do different. But some of them aren't willing, they don't want it bad enough to make changes, which again is a personal decision, and they have the right to do that. So
I can't imagine anybody that would like a hyper dog, but hey, that's them. That's, but I would have to imagine too, let's say it's daycare, that you intentionally have quiet time for the dogs there too as well, right?
Yes, sir. And there are many a daycare that the owners and the managers, they actually don't believe in that. They believe free for all, no boundaries, no limits. And it does. I've worked there and at facilities like that, and I understand their philosophy, but honestly, I don't agree, and I don't believe at all it's the best thing for the dog. I've seen lots of accidents, lots of mistakes, so structure, quiet, calm, that's what Paws Mahal is based on. Safety underneath it all, and that requires calm, structure, and a schedule for the dogs.
What about overstimulation? I would imagine,
Yes.
especially when it's a young dog, that's a puppy, that can be, detrimental to their development.
Exactly. And that straight to that quiet time. They do need, the mammalian brain needs time to be quiet to process what it's taken in. And if you continually pour into it stimulus, it never has a chance to organize things, to so to speak. And it's very fundamental for training. We do short sessions, we introduce, and that includes a unsocialized dog being managed to learn how to socialize. We introduce only short positive experiences. That's taken in a lot for a dog at a distance, so there's no stress. Then we put them up to rest and process, and the brain organizes what it's just taken in. Of course, it starts in working memory. Then if you repeat, it gets assigned to short-term memory. And if you continue to repeat, you can eventually have what you're introducing assigned to a long-term memory. And that takes time, and you have to allow the brain what it needs to do what it is able to do. You have to provide the resources for the brain.
Did I hear that clear, that you need that quiet time because dogs need to process, what's going on during the day? Like it's almost as if they're thinking about their day, what went on, and they need that time to just kind of decompress. Is that what's going on there?
Well, yes. Now there's an element to it, Steve, that it's sort of a human. Well, not sort of. It's very much a human interpretation. However, the brain is still in need of exposure. They don't think of it in terms of like me, like I just saw a strange dog, nothing happened. But their body was, their visual, their neurons, their nervous system, it was exposed and stimulated by whatever it saw, if it can see normally. And that is processed by the brain and then recognized the next time. And then, as we talked about last time, there's an association with that visual cue with what happened. For instance, or for you, the verbal cue of let's go, there's a association. That means going out of doors and we'll go potty. Same with the visual system. There's visual cues that are associated, and et cetera, et cetera. And of course, it gets pretty complex because there's 5 senses at least. I should pause. I think I might be talking too much.
Not at all. Not at all. This is, this is insight that we don't get anywhere else. Boarding. So there are times where, let's say you're going away and you have no place to put your dog. A lot of us are like, I'm uncomfortable about using a place to board my dog. It's beautiful at Paws, Mahal. What should somebody be thinking when it comes to boarding their dog? Or is there anything that they can do to prepare their dog for that?
Sure. Ask questions. And, we tend to know our dogs, of course, better than anybody, at least in some perspective. We know what upsets our dogs, et cetera, the little nuances of behavior and reactions that they'll have. And so we can ask questions like, there's a lot of dogs that are hyper sensitive to noise. And again, the foundational qualities that I want to keep at Paws, the quiet, the calm, et cetera, those are for the weakest dog, the most sensitive dog. I don't want sensitive dogs to have to listen to barking constantly because it upsets them. And then it upsets their neighbor, et cetera. So ask questions. Do you have a quiet area? Do you have problems with excessive barking? It takes a lot of effort to work on barking. Of course, barking is very natural and normal, but a dog can be conditioned with calm patient management and guidance to stop barking on cue, and it can learn to self-soothe itself, settle in, so to speak, and just be content and calm and find, oh, this is good. This is a calm, quiet place. I like this place. It's a respite from the world.
Carol, how do you handle that where you are
Well,
when you got dogs barking? You know, you can't. It's not like you can't walk up to them, you know, and say, "Excuse me, can you tone that down a little bit?"
well, I start, this has been a controversial subject, but I'm not afraid of it. I don't expect everybody to understand it, but I'll speak for myself. As soon as a dog comes in the doors at Paws Mahal, if it barks right then, and there are dogs that do, if I'm there, I'll call the dog's name, and it will, most oftentimes it will stop barking and look at me because he recognized his name. Well, I say, good girl, good boy. I reward that dog because what the dog did was stop barking. It made the decision to stop barking and give me its focus. And so I rewarded it for that. And then I just continue. And in time, is if I provide that verbal cue, its name, and it looks at me, I reward it. And the dog picks up with repetition and time. Oh, I do add hush. After I've said good boy, I'll say hush, and just keep repeating that. So that's at entrance. You want to act at your first opportunity. The first time you notice something that you don't want to continue, you want to take action. Calm, patient, but you want to intervene and in an attempt to change it or cease what's going on.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's say your dog barks a lot. Now, they hear something, they may see something out the window, and I mean, they're doing their job. They're trying to let you know, but that something's up there. How can you reduce that in terms of the barking?
I have 3 Dobermans. One of them is very auditory. He's a sentry with his ears. He will bark at every peep. So with him, I have to do it a lot. I'll say, good looking out, hush. And then it goes into basically what I just told you. If he barks again, I'll say, ah, and I'll call his name. He'll stop. He'll look at me. I say, good boy. And you have to persist them. It's really a matter of just being calm, giving the cue to signal what you want, and then rewarding if it's heated, and just keep repeating it until the dog realizes what you're wanting and is willing to stop. Sometimes it takes greater measures, but like in theory, I really believe if everyone did just that, they could almost nix barking. But of course, we don't know stuff at the beginning, and it gets out of hand, and then the dog's got a habit, and that makes it harder to eliminate. It takes a lot of investment of time, persistence, and intervention.
Or a professional trainer. That's the other part of it.
And I'll say this to be fair, there are dogs that are so bad. I do use a very specific and expensive, very good bark collars if necessary. There's a whole battery of things that we do first. We'll give treats that take a long time to consume. So they're in their kennel consuming the treat quietly and learning how to sit quietly in their kennel, and they're being rewarded by themselves. It's called auto shaping, where they're receiving the treat as a reward, and what their behavior is lying quietly in the kennel, and they're being rewarded for that. So that's a first course. Some dogs will quiet down if you simply put a visual barrier in front of them where they're not triggered by sight at something. There's a lot of things to do, and it's like in some respects you just get started immediately and keep trying all the little tricks, so to speak, until the dog learns to quiet. And there are some that will have to put a bark collar, but we do not use the bark collars we use have a lot of settings, and we do not use the painful settings. We use vibration and pings, and we don't go over a certain level. If it won't work up to a certain level, then we have to use other courses. I won't let them be shocked and hurt to quit barking. Sure. But people don't understand that there's so many things you can do. They assume that you're shocking the snot out of them and that you're cruel, and it's just not fair. But that's how we all are. We make a lot of assumptions.
How do you know, Carol, when to give a treat to your dog? I'm thinking you don't want to overdo it, but when's the right time?
The thing is, in the beginning, early training, you can use, it depends on the exercise you're using, but you can treat, say, for like sitting or basic things like that, sitting and down. You can use treats repeatedly for, a typical session might be a dozen times. But then you start randomizing the treat. You start drawing back. Sometimes you treat, sometimes you don't. And the dog, I like to periodically, every once in a while, treat, maybe way out of the blue, just to keep in their mind that, hey, this time I might get a treat. And with that anticipation programmed into their brain, there's actually a dopamine hit. And that's a positive reinforcement, like, oh, am I getting a treat? So it keeps them motivated. But I think a lot of it's theory in my thinking. If I totally never treat it again, I might lose my edge of compliance. Yeah. So every once in a while, I'll throw in a treat.
I'm in the habit now when we come in from being outside, he expects a treat. He comes in, he's like, all right, what do you got? What do you got? And I think that began because I would try and get him to do his business sooner than later because I got to go to work and things. So I would say potty for a treat, potty for a treat. So, it might speed him up a little bit, but now it's every time he runs in and he turns around, he looks at the cabinet, and now I feel guilty. So it's just like, I don't want to, even as a parent, you should never tell your kid you're going to do something and then don't do it. So now I feel like I'm in that situation. So it's like, all right, I'll give you another treat. Is that okay?
It's up to you, but what you are allowing to do, you're really, he's actually gone over the line and he's demanding it of you. Which, if you don't mind, if it's not inconvenient, if it's not irritating you, that's not necessarily a big deal at all.
Okay.
What's wrong? But he's got you trained there. But if you wanted to, if it would be more convenient or if it irritates you, you could think of like things like that. Like right now, my dogs are trying to insist that I throw their ball, and just to keep them quiet, I'm trying to do that. But if it was bugging me or we weren't having this conversation and I wanted to quit, I would say enough, and then I would just cease to do it. And they know that enough means that's the end. That's okay. It. Or you can use, like with treats, you could teach them leave it. And you're saying, that's it, don't go there and get that. Just a verbal cue that indicates you're not going to get what you're
Yep.
trying to demand of me right
And
now.
it's those little cues are great. I mean, when he picks up something, let's say something he shouldn't have in his mouth, I'll say, drop it, drop it, drop it, drop, and then he does. So it's wonderful.
Amen.
When they figure that out. You offer boarding, daycare at your facility in Arkansas, but also so many other behavioral modification training, dog training in general, which can be done virtually. What's the best way to find you and your team, Carol?
We do have a website. That's a real easy these days. Pawsmahal.org. They can email me at carol@pawsmahal.org. I don't mind sharing my phone number or the phone number of the facility. The facility phone number is 501-952-7765. And so all the typical ways, well, I'm a little older, so they used to be typical. It's rapidly changing.
You're accessible, and that's the beautiful part about it. PAWSMAHAL.com. Paws Mahal. I'm sorry, .org. .org. I got you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Carol, thank you so much for today. Love the insight. Love your energy, and maybe sometime we'll get to meet your Dobermans.
Well, that would be fantastic. You know how it is, Steve. They're my pride and joy. They're such a gift.
I got you there. It is. I look forward to coming home. And, feeling the love. It's fantastic. We'll catch up soon. I appreciate it.
Have a blessed afternoon.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.